I'm Dennis Young with Issues in Education. I'm very proud to have with me Jim McGarry, who is President and CEO of EDspaces. We are in Milwaukee at the 2019 annual conference of EDspaces, and this is just a huge conference that you have.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, huge. Now, before we kind of get into all the advantages of EDspaces, it has really grown over the years. Tell me about that.
Well, for the last 3 years, it's been ranked one of the fastest 50 growing trade shows in the country, in both looking at exhibit size and in attendance. And the main reason for that is that it's the one place where all the key stakeholders can come together and think about educational environments and how they need to work together to improve them for children.
Yeah, what's so interesting is education is going through a transformation right now, a huge. So EDspaces is kind of at the right time of this transformation. You have bringing together architects for space, you have technology here, and you have educators.
That's right.
So how are you able to bring so many people together at this important time?
Well, if you don't have to go back too far ago, and this was primarily just an industry event that had the manufacturers and the distributors together, which was really important, but it didn't make the conversation expansive. So that was when we created the scholarship program. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but we actually bring about 130 school districts and colleges here that have building or renovation programs through a scholarship program.
I didn't know.
And they have about $12 billion worth of construction projects that they're working on. So that obviously created a lot of interest with other groups to come. And then the second main thing that we did was create the partnership with the American Institute of Architects Committee on Architecture for Education. They used to have a standalone fall conference. They've incorporated that into EDspaces and become a major partner in the content side of what we're putting together.
You know, what's so very unique about this conference is that you have 6 different classrooms designed. So you're really putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak, with having these kinds of innovative classrooms. All 6 are different and no lecture based. And you're saying, come visit these spaces and learn what the new techniques are in use of furniture, its arrangement, pedagogy, partnerships, the whole host of things. And whose idea was that?
Well, so you know, we work with the premise that space matters in learning. And we were coming and bringing 1,000 people to a convention center, putting them in windowless classrooms in uncomfortable furniture too close to one another, and we said that this doesn't fit with the mission that we have. So we've actually created a competition. And so we go out with a request for classroom proposal. We had about 12 different architect firms submit designs, and then we have a committee that actually reviews them and then selects which ones we use here at the show. And it's really turned into one of the unique things that we have, because if you are going to be building or renovating a facility, it gives you an opportunity to actually experience some of the design concepts as well as the furniture in a learning environment. Sit in the place of the student and see what their life would be like in that kind of an environment.
The space that I had just presented in this morning had a wonderful turnout, all experience levels, from people from a large district, some from small rural districts, and it seems like everybody has an important takeaway if they come here that they can take back and put in place in their district.
Well, it's, there's a lot of people who building or renovating a school, it may be the only one they do in their entire career. And what we tend to do is go back to where we're comfortable. And so that's one of the great things that we have, and through the scholarship program we're able to help a lot of those school districts come here. That way they can see what's possible and not just have center hallway, classes on either side, and the old bells and cells environment. They can look at this theory that's going on out there and experiment a little bit with it as well.
Well, with all the educators that are at this conference, and they're all taking great notes, taking these ideas back to their district, many of them have come up to me and said, these are all wonderful. We're very happy EDspaces is doing what they're doing. But when I take these ideas back, I need to help train our teachers
Exactly.
how to use these spaces. So
there is a huge professional development aspect to this, because you're right, and we saw that a lot with the whiteboard technology a few years back. Every classroom had these new whiteboards, but then people just used them like they were just a regular old chalkboard. They didn't embrace them and figure out how to build them into the curriculum. So the professional development aspect is important, but I think that's also why it's important to get the educators involved in the process, in the design process, in understanding what's happening, so that they're not just, the end of one school year, you're in one environment, the beginning of the next school year, you're in a different environment, and you weren't part of that iterative process to get you there.
Right. Well, and all the classes that you have going on, I'm hearing a lot of answers being shared, but there's a lot of questions that people are coming here, and they wouldn't be coming here if they weren't being guided and helped by EDspaces. So I think your name is out there as something to come to. They get credits?
They do. All of our education sessions are accredited by the AIA, the NCDCIQ for the interior designers, and also a lot of LEED certification with U.S. Green Building Council.
Well, you're certainly walking the talk, as they say. What do you see in the next several years for EDspaces?
Well, we want to keep it as, have the learning be as immersive as possible. One of the challenges is we want to go to cities that have new and innovative schools that are being built, because tours are a big part of this. There's actually about 13 different schools that are being toured during the course of this event. And so it's important that we go places that have that opportunity for people to experience it and see the environments, and then talk to both the architect and the educators about what worked and what didn't. Because a lot of these theories are new and that we're coming up with in terms of how we build the skill set for the future.
Well, with all the value that you offer here at EDspaces, I can see why your growth has just taken off, because rather than going to a conference that is just dedicated to an architect or one to an educator, they're all coming together here to share ideas, to kind of debate issues, and it's a real vibrant learning community here at EDspaces.
Well, and one thing that's kind of fun is with our app this year, it's actually artificial intelligence driven, and everybody answered some questions in the registration process that helps to select people that they may want to meet and get together with, and that are either experts in the area that they're challenged with, or that can mentor them, or just have solutions for some of the questions that they have.
Well, are there any kind of final comments you could share either with educators out there or the furniture, technology, architects to invite them maybe to the next conference?
Well, we will be in Charlotte, North Carolina in early November next year, celebrating the 25th year of this event. But I think that the main takeaway is that the design process has to take a look at what is the pedagogy that's going to be utilized, what is the technology that's going to be utilized, and how can the space support that, and really think through all of those things. So I would encourage any school or university that's building to make sure that those three people, those are in that discussion from the very beginning as they come through, and then bring them all to EDspaces, and the conversations that you can have here are much different than what happens when you're back in your school district.
Well, you've done an outstanding job leading this great organization, so thanks for stopping by.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye.